How do you protect your garden from pests, weeds, and diseases without turning gardening into a constant battle? We have talked about identifying pests, understanding plant diseases, learning the role of beneficial insects, choosing resistant varieties, and knowing when spraying might actually make sense. And if there is one big takeaway from this entire series, it's this: smart garden protection isn't about reacting to problems, it is about preventing them in the first place. Today, we are bringing everything together and looking at the bigger strategy behind a healthier, more resilient garden. One of the most important ideas in modern gardening is that your garden is not just a collection of plants, it is an ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, you have the plants, insects, soil organisms, pollinators, beneficial predators, and sometimes pests. When the system is balanced, many problems naturally stay under control. But when that balance is disrupted, pests and diseases can spread much more easily. That is why smart gardeners focus less on fighting individual problems and more on creating a garden environment where plants can thrive. Step 1. Start with prevention. The first and most effective defense in gardening is prevention. We covered this earlier when we talked about varietal resistance. Choosing plant varieties that naturally resist certain diseases or pests can prevent issues before they even begin. Healthy soil is also part of prevention. Plants growing in nutrient-rich, well-drained soil tend to be stronger and more resilient, making them less vulnerable to pests and diseases. Even simple choices like proper plant spacing and good airflow can help reduce disease pressure in the garden. In many cases, these small preventive steps make the biggest difference. Step 2. Learn to observe your garden. One of the habits that separates experienced gardeners from beginners is regular observation. Instead of waiting until a plant looks severely damaged, successful gardeners check their plants frequently. Look under the leaves, watch for early signs of discoloration, chewing damage, or unusual spots. Early detection allows you to respond while a problem is still small and manageable. And sometimes, you may even notice something encouraging like lady beetles feeding on aphids or lacewing larvae hunting pests. Observation helps you understand what's really happening in your garden. Step 3. Encourage natural allies. Nature already provides many of the tools needed to control pests. Beneficial insects such as lady beetles, lacewings, hoverflies, and parasitic wasps feed on common garden pests and help maintain balance. By planting flowers and provide nectar on By planting flowers that provide nectar and pollen, gardeners can attract these helpful species. Diverse planting, mixed vegetable beds, and native flowers all contribute to an environment where beneficial insects thrive. In many areas, these natural allies quietly do the work of pest control, long before gardeners even notice a problem. Step 4. Use physical and cultural controls first. Sometimes, pests still appear, and when they do, there are many ways to respond before using sprays. Physical and cultural controls are often simple but effective. These include things like hand-picking pests, removing heavily infested leaves, using row covers to protect young plants, rotating crops each season, and managing weeds that may harbor pests. These techniques reduce pest populations while protecting beneficial insects and the broader garden ecosystem. Step 5. Use sprays thoughtfully. When pest populations become severe, sprays can still play a role. But the key is to use them carefully and selectively. Products like insecticidal soap, neem oil, or horticultural oils can be useful tools when applied correctly. The goal is not to eliminate every insect in the garden. Instead, sprays should be used as targeted solutions when other methods are not enough. So basically, it must be the last resort. Timing, coverage, and proper application all matter when using these products. Responsible use helps maintain balance while protecting plant health. When you step back and look at the big picture, protecting your garden becomes less about fighting problems and more about building resilience. It is about creating conditions where plants go, plants grow strong, beneficial insects thrive, pests stay manageable, and the ecosystem works in your favor. This approach is often called the integrated pest management, but at its core, it is really just thoughtful gardening. Instead of guessing or reacting, you are making informed decisions based on how nature works. Gardening will always come with challenges. There will always be pests, weeds, and occasional plant diseases. But those challenges don't have to turn gardening into a constant struggle. By starting with prevention, observing your garden regularly, encouraging beneficial insects, using simple control methods, and applying treatments only when needed, you are creating a smarter system for protecting your plants. And over time, something interesting happens. Your garden becomes a more balanced, a more productive, and often it will be easier to manage. Because sometimes, the best way to protect your garden is simply learning how to work with nature instead of against it. If you know someone who could benefit from these series, feel free to share it with them. Gardening is always better when we learn from each other and when we grow healthier gardens together. Thanks for joining us for Garden Defense 101, and as always, happy gardening. This is Josh for Omaha Gardener in our series Garden Defense 101. And remember, if you grow it, you know it.